the sleeves. They cut off the back. They cut off the ganze Sache over there. The truth is, for all I know, some of you guys are wearing them right now. I've been specific about Rabbi Spitz for a while. I'm almost sure that Yossi, I don't really want to know what's going on from the waist down, but that's right, Rabbi Sher. But so I said to myself, look, this is a great idea. So I went rummaging through the closet and I found a shirt that doesn't have sleeves and doesn't have a back and doesn't have anything except for a collar. And no one would know. And Rabbi Spire is telling me it's called a cropped shell. I hope I just didn't say a bad thing, but okay. Akopanim, that's what he told me it's called. Akopanim, no, not a wife beater. Not a wife beater. This is a husband beater. That's the whole shaila. It's a shaila of lo yilbash. So I wore it. And I want to tell you my nimoikim, I had 6 svaras to be makel. Sounds like lo yilbash, no? I had 6 svaras to be makel. And Lemaisa, I was makel to wear it. I want to tell you the 6 svaras because I know that the olam learned by me lo yilbash will clearly get hana. We saw last man that there was a bach that said that lo yilbash is all based on kavana. Now the other achreinim, the Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, the bach, he was the Rav in Krakow, he was also the Rav in Belz, and eventually the Rav in Brisk. Actually, sorry, he was first the Rav in Brisk, then eventually the Rav in Belz. When he lost the Stella in Brisk, we spoke about this, what happened over there. Akapanim, we said the whole story because the bach was taka found one night that when they needed to come to him, there was no candle burning. They figured the Rav would have a candle and there was a lady having a baby. They come there, they don't see the Rav is learning. So they came the next day and they told the Rav in Brisk, they told the Bach, you're fired. So Taka, afterward, they asked the Bach, what's the pshat, Taka? How's it shaykh that he wasn't learning? How's it shaykh? How could it be that he wasn't learning? It was 2 o'clock in the morning. How was he not learning? So the Bach said, no, the emes is he was learning. But the salary that they paid in Brisk was so gefährlich that he didn't have enough money for candles. So Mela, he had to learn, whatever he learned during the day, he chazered the whole night al peh. But about he was learning. But in Brisk, they're not going to accept those answers. The Maisa, there's a Marasayim, and therefore he was kicked out of Brisk. Now, Kapanim the Bach, the Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, he says that to have the answer of la yilbash is only in a situation when a person is doing to be ladylike. He's doing it liyos l'tayeva. He's doing it to be medafka like the ladies. The achrayim ask on the Bach, how could you say time of the krah? The Torah says you can't eat chazer. You're going to start eating. You're going to start saying you can't have chazer because it's moiled to timtim ra. But if you there's no such thing. It's time of the krah. The Torah said you can't wear ladies' clothing, and the men can't wear, and the ladies can't wear the men's clothing, and that's it, right? And the whole ganze door of transgenders is one big ganze tayeva. So, ein malasot. How could you say something with the time of the krah? That's the shaila they ask on the Bach. The Bach says, look, what do you want from me? That's meduyik in the pasuk, that it's only a tayeva. And the achrayim, many of them accept the Bach in oifanim. For example, the Chayadim accepts that if you're not dealing with clothing and you're dealing with, let's say, an umbrella, a pink umbrella, and you're clearly doing it, everybody could see clearly that the reason why you're wearing a pink umbrella, you're carrying a pink umbrella, is because your pashit don't have an umbrella. So then it's clear that your kavanah is not to be ladylike and your kavanah is just to make sure that you're not going to get rained on. So things like that. Others are willing to be makel on the Bach, even if it's a beged. Lamashal, they'll be willing to be makel if it's clear that you're doing it to save yourself from the cold. They're talking about, let's say a woman is going to wear a man's jacket because she's freezing cold. That it's nicker and clear that the person is wearing it not to be ladylike. The truth is, it's a big machlekes and the shal deraisa, and to be make on that child, you really have to have other tzirufim. In my case, I have about 5 or 6 tzirufim. One tziruf is that we saw that wearing begodim that are inner begodim might not be a la yilbash deraisa. It might only be a la yilbash derabana. It might not be a la yilbash deraisa because something that's not an inner beged is something that's not nicker at all, and that we explain b'shaita that might be a darabanan. On a darabanan, certainly there's a makom to be makel like the Bach when he's not doing it to be dafka like a lady, especially if he's doing it to save himself from the cold. That's and now you're going to say this is not an inner beged, but it is an inner beged because it's totally not nicker, because nobody will be able to tell. When you're wearing a kittel and you're wearing this shirt, nobody's able to tell that you're wearing a woman's shirt. It's not shaykh. right? And Maisa, I'll prove it to you because I don't think anybody realized, but I don't think you guys realized, right? But the Maisa, I think I'm proving it right now. This is, I think they're going to have to, this is going to be rated R, no? But I'll put him. I've been wearing it the whole time, Rabbi say, and nobody noticed at all. All right. This is, it could certainly, you could certainly, this is certainly the first time in the history of this year. It certainly could not be, it could be mistaken for a man's and a woman's. There's nothing more man about it, right? I see you're feeling better, Micha. Yeah, that certainly is enough to everybody should have a good, it's going to be a big year this year. Yeah, that's for sure. Akoponim, it's worth it to come on time. Can you imagine the poor guys that came about 8 minutes late and they're wondering what the world is going on? Okay. And yes, the answer to your question is if I would be in Slonim, I'd be doing it in Slonim also. Yeah, absolutely. Akoponim. So this thing, first of all, no one was able to tell. Am I right, Rabbi Spire? Am I right, Rabbi? All the English football team over there? Am I right? I don't think anybody was able to tell. Now, there is a reason why. There's another reason maybe to be machmir is because first another reason to be mekel is that maybe it's not even a shame of a beged. Maybe a beged is something that somebody would wear outside, but nobody could possibly wear this. And therefore, maybe it doesn't even have a shame of a beged, right? The only question you can ask is that the buttons are on the wrong side. So first of all, my kittel buttons are also on the wrong side. That's first of all. It was on the same side as the button of the kittel, for whoever knows how you button a kittel. I think, Rabbi Spitz, your kittel also is like that, right? I think the Heimish kittel is like that. Yeah, because that was the way the Chassidim chesed over din. So and the Kloisenberger Rebbe, Zechron Levracha, he said that in the camps, he wasn't over not on a deraisa, not on a rabbanon, not on a minig Yisrael. They asked him what minig Yisrael. Give us an example. So he said that when they gave him the kleider, the prison uniform, the Rishayim, so they had the button, the left over the right, right? But the Chassidim always wear the right over the left, right? Because you have to have the chesed over the din in the Maisa. So, on Yom Kippur or Shoshana, I don't know if it's such a bad thing, to be wearing the right over the left. I don't know if it's such a bad thing, Bichlal. Therefore, I'm not sure if that's a tie-in. But if you're nervous, the Igros Moshe in Ebenezer Chelik Dalet Siman Samach Beis Yivkat Dalet, he says like this. He says he's side in Lo Yelbash, which we mentioned back then. Hine kol zman shetzarich liimar lo shaykh tinek lezeh, v'kol man shenakel lefnei rosh lahabisha. He's talking over there as they're Lo Yelbash by a child. So he says a child, that when the child is wearing clothing, is just based on the parent's whim. That the derech of the nashim avshel umas ha'olam malbishim begadim acherim latinak. In Maisa, there's no reason why it should make a difference between a boy and a girl, in the clothing. He said the goyim, they make it that the boys wear this type of clothing, the girls that type of clothing. He says, what's the pshat? Why? They only do it they do it because otherwise, how are you supposed to know who's a boy and who's a girl? In the olden days, Rabbi Isai, that made a difference. Right? And, it was very important to know who's a boy and who's a girl. So therefore, that's why they put the boy in the blue stuff and the girl in the pink stuff, and that's how it goes. But Ramesh says, he says not out sneas, and it's not real. It's not real. So it's the same idea. There's no real lumdis. Why? There's no real lumdis. Why the left side, the goyim decided that the girls wear the buttons this way and the boys wear the buttons this way. There's no real lumdis why it should be like that. And being that that's the case, so therefore, it's not something that inherently can create a lo yilbash akama that the beged itself doesn't look more like a boy's one than a girl's one. Now, don't get me wrong. There were other examples of this shirt that were very girly and that I couldn't wear because they were clearly going to look like a girl. The Maisa, it was a Shatzat Chak, and for Yom Kippur, what I plan on doing is I plan on cutting up a shirt I think that maybe we could market this in the Kollel and all proceeds will go to the Kollel. What's the other thing? Right? Akopanim, until then, until we market it, if anybody needs to, now you know the secret, Rabbi say. Now you know the secret. So you'll never know. You'll never know. You'll never know for Chaim Kedievsky under his kittel. You'll never know, Rabbi say. You'll never know. You'll never know. Akopanim, that's a very interesting idea. That's a very interesting idea. Okay. Danny, you still with me? Okay. Okay, let me again. Now I think we go back. We lost Danny? Yeah. Danny, just cut this into different shears so that I can call this kosher. Don't worry, we'll put it up also. Let me get invited, Rabbi Yisai. So, kosher. Now, I have a lot of kosher shilas that came over Rosh Hashanah. I was looking for them, you know that. We have a lot of shilas in the Mitzvah Hashem. Hopefully, if we finish kosher in the next few days, in the next 2 days, so then hopefully maybe if we finish it really even today, so then we can have the next 2 days to learn the halachas of Yom Kippur, v'chulei, v'chulei. Now, one thing is the lashon of the Rambam that the Torah brings down and that the Shulchan Aruch brings down in Siman Lamed Daled. I never realized how strong the lashon of the Rambam is. The Rambam says that a person that does an avera, even if he didn't get asra, say he's pasal le'edis. But what are the avera? Only an avera that everybody knows it's the wrong thing to do. Aval, if you see him doing something that it's karav is shaygig, you see him doing something that it's very, possible. It's very possible. Excuse me. If you see somebody, the Rambam's saying, the Rambam's in Eidus Yud Beis Halach Aleph. You see somebody who's doing something that it's possible to say that he's a shoygig, so then you have to warn him, and then he becomes Pasal Eidus. But if you see him doing it, you don't make him Pasal Eidus just for the mere fact that he's doing the Avera. Keitzad, what's the example? It says the Rambam, Ro Kosher Umatir Shabbos. Very interesting. I would have thought that maybe people don't realize that they untie. But to tie, most people know. Says the Rambam, Ra'u kosher matir. You see a person tying or untying on Shabbos, you must warn him. Shezeh chilul Shabbos, because roiv ha'am ein yodim zeh. So you see already, first of all, roiv people don't know the halachas of kosher. I realized the Rambam, but I realized the Rambam says roiv people. It's not much amazing. Now it's a mordig gezach during the series to make tshuva. You're putting yourself together with the category of the miyat who are doing the right thing. You don't want to be with the right people that don't know what they're doing. Right? So it's mamish, it's a big schus for the Yom Adin, for the Yom Kippur to learn it. And then I saw in the Ben Ish Chai in Parshas Kisitza, he says, from the malachas that are regilas eitzel adam, what are the malachas that are ruggle and people are so common to do that inevitably they're going to be nichshol, shepinakol efshel yikashel b'zeh, and need the most ashkacha. They need the most pikuach and concentration to make sure you don't do it. That's melechas kosher and matir. Why? Because people are so used to doing it in chayil. You're so used to doing it on a weekday, and the adayim maskani is saying, but over the tummy. You don't even think, and you just untie and tie. I'm going to give you examples of this in a moment, but it's definitely it's something you need to know. It's something you need to know. And then I saw in the Or Sameach, and you say that Torah Perikei Halacha Beis, he brings down a shiltis, and he brings down. Everyone knows the famous Gemara in Sanhedrin. I was just learning it. And I find out that the Gemara, the famous Gemara, talks about that b'shatz shmad, that a person has to give up his life even for something which isn't one of the Gimel Chamuras. What was the Gemara's example? So the Gemara says, Arkasa de Masana. The Gemara says on an Arkasa de Masana, they had to give up their life. What's a pshat in Arkasa de Masana? The Gemara says that if the way that some Rishonim learn is that if the Jews tie their laces with one color, so then, and the goyim do it a different color, so then that shows you being like the goyim, and you'd have to give up your life. The Shiltis says, you know what the pshat in Arkis Masan is? It's tying a shoe on Shabbos, or untying, lahatir minola b'Shabbos, which is an ad malacha. Why does the Gemara say mitzvah kala? So the Or Sameach says, because roiv ha'moyin eina yoidim chayiv alav. People don't realize that there's so many situations where you chayiv. Right? And he brings down the Rambam, that the Rambam says that you pasal le'edis, and therefore, that's what the case was. They told this Jew on Shabbos, the Gemara's in Sanhedrin to find out, they told this Jew on Shabbos, go on and tie your shoe, And if not, we're going to kill you, right? And the Gemara says, even a mitzvah kala, dainu, he knows something about kosher. He knows it's not the right thing to do, but he does it anyways. And so, like upon him, if the goyim tell you if you untie your shoe, we're going to kill you, so then you have to be killed. No, you see, mamish Rabbi talking about that kosher matter is of the chamuras. It's mamish of the chamuras. And during a series you make tshuva, you're supposed to do chumras, be makra. Says kavachayim, the things that are meikar din that people don't know. You have to go and be machazik yourself. So kosher matter is certainly a meridik schus for Yom Kippur. So I have a lot of cases. I have a lot of cases, which I was thinking that people are nechshel in. Some of them, I ran past the authorities, and they told me, no, people are for sure nechshel in this, and let's try to work this day out. Now, first and foremost is I mentioned the Maldiskin the other day, and I said the Maldiskin is against the Rashi. The Maldiskin is very famous, and it's Nageya Yom Kippur, it's Nageya Sukkot, where the Maldiskin says if you tie a knot, and it's a knot that's tied without the intention of undoing the knot, but you don't have a tzairich in the knot only for a specific amount of time. And as your tzairich in the knot is to get the garbage until it gets to the garbage, you don't have a tzairich in the knot, excuse me, you don't have a tzairich in the knot after it gets to the garbage, but you don't plan on undoing the knot. Is that knot going to be an isser la'olam? Is it mutter? Is it considered only liyoimai? What's that knot? Maldiskin had started to be mekel. He brought a raya from the Sir Azazel. We brought a raya from Rashi in Sukkah against that. Rashi in Sukkah, Rashi says that when you have a lulav, so that's considered a keshel oilam. And I saw that the Baal Tanya also brings this down. Right? Rashi says, why is it called a keshel oilam? So the lashon of Rashi was because since, excuse me, since you never plan on opening the knot, like Chashish, Rashi says over there, you never plan on opening this knot, so therefore that knot is considered a l'olam dikanat. Excuse me. It's considered a l'olam dikanat. That was Rashi in Sukkah. Here, I'll read you the Rashi. Rashi says, Keshesh al-kayama, Zeh keshesh al-kayama. Why? Ain't a chaysher later alamis. Rashi's example is a person has a lulav, he ties a knot around the lulav. He doesn't mean an uman's knot. He means like a bow and a knot or something like that, or a knot that you're going to put a kricha in it, etc. So, B'kai Govna, Rashi seems to say that that knot is considered a la'olam, and the Graz brings this in Tafresh Nun Aleph. Well, beyond the v'yafshel l'kashrei binyan zeh, he says the Graz, you're not allowed to tie a knot and then even a bow. And he says you're not allowed to do this on Yontif because because you're never planning on opening this ever. That's what Rashi says, and that's why the Chayritz Raya, not like the Chayritz Raya Deloy Kamal Diskin. I saw over Yontif a Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is an Ar Siman and Shin Yud Zayin and Sivkat in Chavtes. Mishnah Berurah and Shin Yud Zayin, Sivkat in Chavtes seems to say not like the Rashi. I'm not sure what to do about it. He says he's talking about aval imul kayama leizes man. He's talking about a knot and a bow, and he says if you make a knot and then a bow, this is the famous Mishnah Berurah where he argues under Ramah, and he says that a knot and a bow is yes a problem. A knot and a bow is only mutter if you're doing it under a day or b'makom tzairich under 7 days. So he says, avalim midikayama leizes man kegoyim belulev. But if you plan on keeping it for a certain amount of time, like a lulav ukiyotze boy, so then it's usher to make this kasher. Only thing you're allowed to do is an aniva, and you're allowed to do 2 anivas. Rabbi say, he's talking about a lulav. And the Mishnah Berurah says, you know what you're not allowed to do? You're not allowed to tie a knot and then a bow on a lulav. Why? It's usher. He doesn't say it's chayiv. He says it's usher. And he says, Mishnah Berurah in Sivkat and Chavtes. And he says, why is it usher? Because you're having it for a certain amount of zman. In other words, you're going to go and tie the lulav. Let's say it comes this year, Sunday, is Yontif for the Olam in America. And he's going to tie a knot, and he's going to tie a bow. So how long is that for? Lizman. What's Lizman? For the next 5 days. So Mishnah Berurah said that's usher. Why is it usher? Because it's a knot and a bow, Lizman, for more than a day. Rabbi say, Rashi, the Baal Tanya, they told us this is called a kesher lamis because he never plans on opening this knot. The example they talked about was a lulav. This Mishnah Berurah is not like Rashi. It would stem very well with the Maral Diskin, that the Mishnah Berurah doesn't consider a knot that you're tying l'oilam, but you don't need l'oilam. You only need it until it gets to the garbage. It sounds like from the Mishnah Berurah that he would not consider that to be a l'oilam tikkana. It sounds like from the Mishnah Berurah that if you have a knot on a lulav that you only need for 7 days, so then even though you're never going to open it, but that's considered not a l'oilam tikkana. It's only considered a not l'zman. Now I was thinking it's still not a raya to the Maldiskin. Right? It's not a raya to the Maldiskin because you could be mechalik. You could say here when he ties it, he's tying it with the express intention of the yontif of Sukkot. So then that's explicitly his das is for these 6 days. And then he's going to take the lulav and he's going to rid himself of the item. He's going to rid himself of the item, and therefore that you can hear is only for a mobile amount of time. But Mashenkin, when it comes to a garbage bag, when he's taking garbage bag, he's not doing it until it gets to the garbage. There's no express time. Maybe there it's worse. Maybe there someone will say it's better. He's not doing it for 6 days. He's not doing it for 5 days. He's not even doing it till when it gets to the garbage. He's just making a knot. And he knows this knot is going to be l'oilam. But a lulav maybe is a little bit better. Maybe he's doing the lulav, he's tying the knot, and he plans on doing it just for 7 days. He punkt is not going to open it afterward. The chilik I'm making is splitting hairs. It's certainly not a simple chilik. Yeah, Rabbi Spire, that's barer that the Mishnah Berurah seems to be arguing on Rashi. I guess he felt from the other Rishayim. That's clear. I'm not coming to say that. The Gabi Lulav, the Mishnah Berurah seems to clearly be arguing on Rashi. And he seems to be saying, even though you never plan on opening this knot ever, which is clearly the case. He never seems to be opening. He's never going to open up this knot. And Alpha Pika, the Mishnah Berurah seems to say that this knot is only usher. He doesn't say it's a lo'olam tikkana. So klape lo'olam, that you have a raya l'chayra to the Maldiskin. The only thing I was being mechalik is maybe it's only by a lulav, but by a garbage bag, maybe the Mishnah Berurah would yes be machmir, because when he ties a knot, and he plans on it always being, and he doesn't have a specific das just till it gets to the garbage. When a person ties a knot on the garbage, and you ask him, what are you doing? So he's not going to say, I'm doing it just till it gets to the garbage. He's tying a knot, and that knot he knows is going to be the lo'ilam. So maybe that's worse. Mashenkin lulav, his entire lulav, the putting the egged, he's expressed kavanah. If you ask him what he's doing, he'll probably tell you, I'm doing it for the yontif of Sukkot so that I can have a lulav on Sukkot. But I tell you, I admit my right side, this chilik is splitting hairs. I don't myself believe in the chilik. And I think from the Mishnah Berurah, you have a raya, not like the Maldiskin. I need feedback. Is everybody understanding me or no? You see, before, when I took off my shirt, I got a lot of feedback. So it's just getting me a little bit nervous that, maybe this part you're not understanding. Yeah, everyone's okay? No? Rabbi Schlissel felt you missed it. You'll see later. Don't worry. Okay, Claire, let me get invited. That's number one. Number two is that, let's give examples now. Rabbi Rosenberg is asking, he's only tying lulav until he burns it. So that's another thing which I want to talk about soon. Let's say I burn a knot. Is that called a matir? I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure. Halacha l'maisa on the lulav, it's usher anyways, Rabbi Spira, because it's anyways going to be an issa d'Rabbanan, right? So no matter what, it's going to be an issa d'Rabbanan because it's more than a day. Elamai, I guess Rabbi Spira is asking, yeah, but saif, it's not 7 days, which is a good shayla taka, but I guess he's wrong. I guess it is 7 days because, I don't know, I have to think about this. I guess the derech is for 7 days, and therefore it doesn't help that you have das not for 7 days, because since the derech is, most people keep it on for sure for 7 days. Mishnah Berurah Maisa says it's aser. So no, that's not true, Rabbi Grossman. You don't take off the knot, you take off the taboyas, but you don't take off the knot at the Shana Rabbah. It says in Kabbalah that you take off the taboyas, the rings. Okay, now basically, let me give you an example over here. I told you the Ben Ish Chai, the Rambam, the Or Sameach, they're all saying that this is a mitzvah kala. It's an avera that most people don't know, the dinim of kosher and mater Baruch Hashem. We're learning it, but not everybody knows it. So I want to give you examples of cases that people just are not aware of, and they're very, very common cases. I saw today. I went to the freezer, and in the freezer, there was baby food, right? For the baby. That's how it goes. So what do? You take the baby food and you fill it up in little baggies. And then you tie a knot in the baggie. Now, everybody has their own minig. Some people make, for example, sherbet wine, or sorbet wine and things like that. And they put the wine, they put these little ices into little baggies and they tie double knots on them. That's how it goes. Everybody has their own little things that they put inside bags and put into the freezer. And then you tie in it a knot. And that's called an woman's knot because it's very tight. Boom, today, my wife said to me to go to the freezer and take out one of those bags so that we could, serve it to the little guy. And when I went to the freezer and I took it out, without even thinking, it's not yontif, so it's okay. But without even thinking, I realized that the knot was not tight, right? The knot wasn't tight. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't tight because maybe something happened in the freezer, the moisture. I don't know what happened, but the knot wasn't tight. So without even realizing, I just untied it. Because it was loose. I wonder what would happen on Yontif, on Shabbos. Somebody comes to the freezer. He sees a bag that has a knot. He probably wouldn't even think, and he would just untie it. Why? Because usually it's a double knot and it's very tight. So people realize you can't untie that knot. Because anyways, it's too difficult, and they'll just rip the bag, right? But I imagine everyone knows on Yontif, Shabbos, there's a shayla about ripping bags. So if you can avoid ripping a bag, right, you avoid it, right? That's how it is. If you can avoid ripping a bag, you avoid it, right? And then, if you see that the knot is loose, you'll undo it. That knot, very well, I was thinking, might be an example of a kesher deraisa. According to Rashi, that knot was closed forever. Why? Because most people, they just come and rip open the bag. So that knot is l'olam tikkana. According to the Rambam, that you need l'olam and you need umin. So if it was tight, you have umin. And you have lo'ilam. So it's either a drabanan or a deraisa. If it's not an umin because it's loose, so then it's lo'ilam, right? Because most people on these bags, they just come to rip open the bag. Most people don't even think, they just rip open the bag. So therefore, those knots are there lo'ilam. So that's a very good example of something that's there, deraisa lo'ilam. And you know what, Rabbi say? A lot of times you have that also on, like nash bags, on bags that you buy in the store, right? All types of zachen, right? It's a very, very normal thing to buy nash bags and things like that and have a knot in them. And you have to know, if it's a type of bag that the derech is to rip open that bag, so then when that knot was made, it was made lo'ilam. Nuts. A lot of times you go to the pituchim store and you buy nuts, popcorn. Right. So all these things, they have a knot. And on Shabbos, the person knows that ripping a bag is a whole shaila, so he doesn't want to start ripping the bag, so he starts undoing the knot. That knot is a deraisa knot according to Rashi. It was made lo'ilam. According to the Rambam, it's an uman's knot and it's made lo'ilam. So this is one very good thing to discuss. Very good thing to discuss. Good thing to know about. The next is like this. So I have here a pair of new shoes, because I don't want to have to wash my hands. So I have here a pair of new shoes, right? So today I took off my shirt and now now you have my shoes, right? Now, Rabbi Spira has been trying for the last few weeks to ask me a question about a double knot in shoes, And he keeps asking me, is a double knot in shoes a problem? And I keep telling him we're coming back to it. So I'll tell you like this. I looked into it a little bit over Yontif, and I found that in the Sefer Orchos Shabbos, he brings down in Perek Yud, Siftes Vav Arver Kav Ches, that the Shmir Shabbos says that you're not allowed to make a double knot. I'll just show you what he's talking about. This is Kesher number 1. This is the first Kesher. All right, the regular Kesher. Everyone can see? That's the first Kesher. All right. Then you make a bow on top of the knot, okay? And then you take the bow and you make another knot, okay? Did I do it right, Davi? I did it wrong? I did it wrong. Okay, so Davi's saying I did it wrong. I'll show you what Davi means that I did it wrong, because in the Sefer Orchos Shabbos, he writes that you're allowed to do this. He says, why are you allowed to do this? Because he says, it's just, here, I'll read you his words. He says, it's not a Maisa Umin. It's not a Maisa Umin because it's not a knot and a knot. There's no omnis. And the Shulta Gibarim is a Chiddush. Right? So he says, okay, watch. Because he says basically that when you're going to pull the string, it's going to come right out. Okay? Now, Duvi said I did it wrong. Because watch, I'm going to pull the string and it's going to come right out. Why did I do it wrong? Or I didn't? Maybe I did it right. But this is what he says to do. This is what the Hilchos Shabbos says. So now, let's see. When I pull this, it comes right out. So Chari is right. Chari is right. Again, let's try it again. Now I'm just going to do it again. All right. Look, one knot. Now another one. Now it's tight. Now it's tight. Now, that way it doesn't go, but this way maybe it will. Let's see. No, that way is even worse. 1 minute. No, a minute. If any of you are feeling drunk, it's not really. I'm just holding the camera in a different way. Don't worry, Micha. You're okay. You can't get it. Why is it not going, Davi? Oh, I got it. 1 minute. Okay. Now, you all realize that Rabbi Kallus is, very, very strong, right? And that it's not muchach that Rabbi Brownstein, you must tell your child that not everybody is going to be, physically capable of doing such activities. And also not everybody, under his kittel is wearing, an interesting shirt. It's not muchach, Rabbi Isai, that everyone will be able to do what I did. Now, what happened over here? Why is the Shmir Shabbos saying it's aser? Why is the Hilchos Shabbos saying it's mutter? Let me explain to you. He says, the Hilchos Shabbos, that look, all you have to do is pull out that string. And you saw that when you pull out that string, it goes. Now, when you make a regular knot and bow, does it come out with easier than what we just did? Let's see. All right. Here is an example of just a knot and a bow. Now here, I'm not exerting any energy. Voila. Right? With the greatest of ease, it all comes apart. Right? Ad kedei kach. Now watch. If I do a knot and then a bow, okay, and now I decide I want to hold it, I can't even do it because it's going to fall. But if I'd want to hold it from the string, what'll happen? You guessed it. It's just going to come undone, right? Here is a double knot. There are two shoes. That's how all shoes come. They come in pairs. And there's two shoes. This one has a double knot. Now, when I hold it like this, is it going to come out? No. If I pull and pull and pull and pull, no. The only way to get it out is if you go like this and you mamish pull and you pull and pull and pull. And I'm still not really being successful. And I got it. Yeah, I finally got it. And I got it. Okay. And like I said, Rabbi Frankel, I don't know if you have the same physical physique that I have to be able to do that. I don't know. But it's a new year and it's after Rosh Hashanah and anything could be. Right? It could be that you are now physically capable, but you might not have been until now. What's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is that I just explained to you what the Shmir Shabbos is saying. What the Shmir Shabbos is saying is, what's the lumdus of a knot and then having a bow on top of it? We hold that a knot with a bow is considered a kesher hedyot. It is a kesher, but it's a kesher hedyot. We hold not like the Halakha Ramah, and we hold that a knot and a bow is considered a kesher hedyot. And this was the old shaila that we had, Legabe Glila. We said that Legabe Glila, when you have the vimple and you have the knot and then the bow on top of it. So we explained that the kesher hedyot. However, the problem is that sometimes you do it for more than 2 days. Sometimes you do it for 7 days. Sometimes you do it for a year. And that was the issue. Derech Agav, I want to mention one more limud schus. I mentioned a lot of limudei schusim of the vimple and the knot and the bow. By the mitzvah, we said it's a mitzvah. We saw a lot of svaras that it's not so pashut. There was another svara that I never mentioned, which I should mention. According to the Rambam, it's mutter. no matter what, even if you're doing it for a year. Because according to the Rambam, it's a knot with a bow. A knot with a bow is clearly not an uman's knot. It's clearly a hedget. Elamai, but you're doing it for a year. But we said in the Das of the Rambam, if you remember, Abaisai, from the Shitas Mishtabura, we said that the Mishabura Shita is that the only time the Rambam made it to Rabbanan is if you have one of the two. You have umin or you have la'olam. But let's say I don't have la'olam and I don't have umin. So here it's not la'olam, it's a year. It's not la'olam. So then according to the Rambam, we have nothing. So therefore, according to the Rambam, that's miyashiv the minig olam that used to use for the vimple, and they would do it even for a year. It's another limit schos. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? That was fresh off the press. I realized the other day when I said the mitzvah heter, I didn't give that heter also. So that's, knocks down the shiloh. It's still kedai to buy a buckle, because why get into any shiloh? According to Rashi, it's still going to be an Issa D'Rabbanan. But Akopanim, the Rambam, the Shitase also, the Rambam holds mitzvah, there's a heter. So according to the Rambam, if the Teimanim have this, I guess if you have a Yakisha Teimani, right? So then he can for sure use this vimple business. Now, Rabbi say, as I say, we, the Mishabura says, are machmir on a kesher that has an aniva on top of it. What's the lumdus that we're machmir on an aniva on a kesher? Because we said the aniva goes and starkens up the kesher. It makes it that the kesher is a lasting kesher. Till now, you have just a knot that can't last. And even though, like I showed you in a plastic bag, it might stay, but that Chazal didn't consider to be a lasting knot. The Chayodam's lashon is, if you're kosher based varim biyacha kederech kosherin as loy mikri kesher kashasa based ksharin zera gabe zeh dim loy kein loy yiskayim. It's a type of knot which isn't miskayim. Kesher echad bilvad is not called a kesher. The Graz says a very strong lashon. He says the kesher echad is not called a kesher. And it's mutter to untie it and tie it, even if it was there l'olam. But reg I put on it in aniva, I turned the bottom guy into a kesher. That's the lumdis, like we spoke out many times. Therefore, we said that if you make a knot and you go and you shtup in the edges of that, the leftover rope, so then that's also going to be makayim it, and that's a problem. So therefore, a knot and a bow combination is a kesher hedit. Why is it a kesher hedit and not a kesher woman? Because it's not tight. Just simply not tight. It's simply not the suffix of the Shilti Gebarim. Why is it not? But it is a kesher. Don't get confused. It is a kesher. Rabbi Rosenberg is asking me, why don't we say 0 plus 0? The answer is that's a mistake. It's not a vort of 0 plus 0. It's not a vort of a 0 plus 0. Excuse me. It's a vort of taking the top and turning the bottom into a workable, usable, friendly kesher. That's the idea. So it's not 0 plus 0. It's you're taking the top and you're making the bottom one into a cheft of a kesher. So this whole thing is a kesher. Is it a kesher umin? No, it's a kesher hedit. Why is it a kesher hedit? Because it's very easy to come apart. It's very, very weak. It's not strong. The vort of a double knot is strong. And we even spoke about double knots, which are loose, and that we said it's called a kesher hedit. Don't get confused. My point is, it's called a kesher hedit. So now it depends. If you make a knot in a bow for more than 24 hours, that's a problem. I'll give examples in a moment. If you make it for more than 7 days, that's for sure a problem. All the cases of the shviger we spoke about is a baisai in Cain. So then the case of a double knot on the shoe is no shayches, because I'll make it right now. Since when you have a double knot on a shoe, what we call double knot, you make a knot and then a bow, and then you tie the bow together. So then there's no question in the world, and I made it, Rabbi say, loose now, okay? There's no question that this is very strong. It's very strong. And everyone agrees it's called a knot. So then why is this not the Shulti Gebayrim? It's a tight knot. It has an escape clause. Okay, so what? No one's going to say that even a knot on a bow, even a bow on a knot is called a knot. Even, we explained, I'll take out one. Even this, which has an escape clause, is called a knot. We paskin halacha, not like the Ramah, and we all that this is considered a knot. Just why? It's a headed knot. Why? Because it's something that I don't know, comes right out, right? So that's something that comes out with a great ease. So therefore it's a knot which is not an uman's knot, and therefore it depends on the amount of time. But Masha'en came when you have a double knot, even though it's true, and the Orchos Shabbos is right in the Metzias, that if you tie it one way, if you tie it a different way, and you get the string in there, it won't come out either. And then you're gonna, anyways, it'll be a double knot. But even if you did it in the right way, like I just did it, so then this is definitely tight. There's no question it's tight. V'araya, in order for me to take it apart, I have to work. I have to really work very hard. One second. And it's also, it's after a fast day, so you could say I'm a bit weak. But Lamaisa, today I had 2 coffees. All right, there you go. Got it. Okay. But I had to work very hard in order to get it. And therefore, this is why the minig of Klal Yisrael is to consider that to be an uman's knot. And therefore, the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos, which was looked over by the great Goyin Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, is correct. He doesn't need our skam, obviously, but he's obviously correct. And to tie a double knot on Shabbos Kodesh is certainly forbidden, right? Certainly it's forbidden. To tie a double knot on a shoe is certainly forbidden. The only thing is that it's the regular Shiltei Giborim. It's not more than the Shiltei Giborim. So therefore we saw in the Shiltei Giborim that there's a makim to be mekel b'makim tsar. And therefore we explained back then, Rabbi Spira, that if your little Yingalach are going to be, tripping on their shoes, they're going to be falling, it's going to be terribly annoying the whole entire day, you're going to have to tie them, etc. So maybe there's a makim to be mekel on the Shiltei Giborim. Right? There certainly might be a makom to be mekel, because the Mishnah Berurah, the Ramah brings down the b'makom tsar, and we saw the level of tsar. The Graz said the level of tsar that we require is not such a high level of tsar. So therefore, there certainly might be a makom to be mekel. And the truth is that it's so interesting in the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos, in the new prints in Perek Tezvav, the old prints in Sif Tezvav Nun Gimel, so he brings down that it's aser, even if you have intention of opening it within a day, because it's an uman's knot. Then he brings down, here he's mekel b'shatzat tzorich, if you're going to plan on opening it that day. And he says, because it's no different than what I wrote in Sif Nun Hey. Over there, he's talking about the general rule of the Shiltei Giborim. So he says, therefore, if you're tying a child's shoes, so then you can make a kesher al gabe aniva kadesha. You can make kosher kesher al gabe the aniva in order that the kid shouldn't open it. So that is definitely something that there's a makom certainly to be saimich on it. Is that crystal clear, everybody? So before we go weiter? Okay. let me get weiter. Now, a few more cases, Rabbi Isai, that people don't realize. Now, just one more thing. I was thinking on Yontif that the Gemara brings down what's the makor of making a kesher in general and matir in general. The Gemara talks about the nets, right? The nets, not the New Jersey football team, but the nets is they used to take nets and catch different zachen for the Mishkan and whatever and all types of things. And over there, it's very interesting. Why didn't they learn out from the Mishkan itself? In the Mishkan itself, they would tie the urias. They would tie down the urias. So the Mefarshim explain that they don't learn out from there because it's not considered l'olam. Why is it not considered l'olam? Because when you tie the urias down, it was clearly going to be, no, not the top part of the urea, the part that you're tying the urea to the bottom. And it's clearly going to be something that's going to be removed. In other words, there's no question that it's only amount of time because Klal Yisrael are going to be leaving Al Pi Hashem Yisoyu and Al Pi Hashem Yachanu. But it's just interesting because they wound up staying, Rabbi Isai, sometimes for 19 years. That means when they set up camp, they were going to stay there for 19 years. So why is that not called L'Olam? You see from here, a very big chiddush. You see that if there was never an intention for, that's clear according to everybody, that if you're going to be tying a knot, which clearly is going to be opened, you just don't have you just don't have a specific time when it's going to be opened, then that's never going to be L'Olam, according to any shita. We'll see where that's negay in a moment, but that definitely is mefurish. Now, I want to give you a few more examples of cases that people just are just not aware of, right? And you have to be mechanech children in this, Rabbi said, because if you're not mechanech kids in this, they become adults. that are puzzle or not puzzle, whatever. So, for example, let me be moist of one nikud. I mentioned the other day from the Taz and from the Graz that both the Taz and the Graz both say side that why were the Rabbanim not being considered over on Matir? Already they were taking off their shoes on Friday night, so why weren't they over on Matir? And they were tying their shoes on Shabbos morning, and seemingly they tied their shoes for the whole week. So the Taz and the Graz explained that no, there were definitely times that they would open their shoes, that night, but there were also times that they didn't. So we saw the side, which is a very, very big side from the Taz, from the Graz, that when you have a knot and the knot is suffix, maybe it'll be opened by Yom, or maybe it won't be opened by Yom. That's going to be enough. Kevin shedarka bekach, the Graz, I'll read you the Graz's lashon. Aval im ein bedaitem klum kishkoyshim el koyshim b'stam mutar lekoyshim b'Shabbos. Av she'achakach they don't open them that night. That's not called the kesher kayama because it wasn't vadai. Right? The Talmidei Chachamim also would open up their shoes at night, and therefore it's mutter to open these shoes on Shabbos. Also, it's a mutter because, again, as long as it wasn't done bivadai to be for more than 24 hours. This is a very big side, Rabbi said. When you tie something that, again, obviously can't be something that the derech of the oilam is to be tying for more than 24 hours. Because then anyways, that's usher, because we go bust to the derech of the oilam. But if you have something that the derech of the oilam is split, sometimes like this, sometimes like that, and you are tying it lav b'dafka or b'vadai to be for 24 hours, and you're just tying it, and maybe it'll be for 24 hours, and maybe it'll be for less than 24 hours. So then that's mutter. That's a very big side. I'll show you why. That means there's a lot of cases that we're going to tell the person, just make sure that you don't have das to vadai keep it for 24 hours. I'll just give you a few examples, right? A hair ribbon. On Yontif, I saw one of my daughters putting in the other daughter a ribbon, and she was tying it. So I asked her, how long do you plan on keeping that hair ribbon in for? So she said that, it was on Leil Yontif on the first night, on Leil Yontif. So she said, well, I wanted to stay for her sister. I wanted to stay for Sheva until after Yontif, right? So of course I immediately took her and put her in the closet, as you realize, because what did she just say? She just said, "Oh, I forgot to take her out." I immediately told her that, wait a minute, if she's doing it bidafka to be there for more than 24 hours, then it's a problem. If she would have said, I'm tying a knot and a bow, don't forget, even a knot and a bow is also for more than 24 hours. Maybe b'shatz tzorech will make them more than 24 hours, but lechatchila, that's what we hold. A knot and a bow, you're supposed to be. I told her if she would have said the words, I'm tying it, stam. I don't have a b'dafka shita more than 24 hours, less than 24 hours, stam. So then we know that a knot and a bow is definitely something that might be taken out within 24 hours if it's in a hair band, in a hair ribbon. But she said the magic words that she's tying it for until after Yontif. She's tying it for more than 24 hours. That's when it's usher. All she would have had to say was, I'm tying it, stam. I don't plan on doing it for Vadai. If you ask her, you're doing it Vadai for more than 24 hours? If she would say, no, I'm not doing it Vadai for more than 24 hours, then it would be mutter. But rather you say the words, I'm doing it for more than 24 hours, so then that is where the Isser is. It's just a very common case. That's why I'm bringing it down. That's a very common case. And I guess shoelaces is the same idea, right? Shoelaces and a tichel. Let's say you're tying the knot in the tichel like we explained, and you're not going to tie it tight, but it's still a kesher. So the lady has to be able to say, not that she's doing it, she can't say, I'm doing it for more than 24 hours. But regularly she says, I'm just doing it stam. There's for sure a chance it's going to open within 24 hours. So then it becomes like the rabbinical shoes. That's a very important nakuda. Same thing, I think, with shoelaces. I think most people, you just have to tell them, don't intend bidafka that you're going to slip off your shoes tonight. If you don't intend, most people, when they tie their shoes, there's definitely a lot of people out there. It doesn't have to be roiv. It has to be that harbe pamim, a person will untie his shoe. If Harbe Pamim he unties the shoe, even though this time he didn't wind up untying his shoe, then it's going to be okay, right? An example of this is we had these. Let's say by mistake, it's not even by mistake, Rabbi Spire. Let's say they wind up not opening it. It doesn't matter because it wasn't tied with the bedafka intention of more than 24 hours. And that means 2 years later, this everybody say, big chiddush. 2 years later, that ribbon is still in her hair. Let's say she has like dreadlocks or what are those things called, Dovi? The ones that have all the worms in them. And what are those things called? I forgot what those things are called. The ones with the worms. Rasta? What? Dreads. I don't know. They're called something. I'm afraid to repeat some of the words that I'm being cornrows. I hope I don't get in trouble for what I'm saying. But Akopanim, now Nussi's saying it's okay, and Nussi's chassidish, so I'm not so worried. But Akopanim, this is what really matters, Rabbi said. But these cornrows, for example, that let's say, so there's a bad example because there, when you tie it, you plan on it being tied loilam, right? That's how it goes over there. And many of them don't have such a life expectancy anyways, of such a long life expectancy. So there, it's for sure they plan on tying it loilam, and therefore it doesn't help that your das is that you plan on opening it, because that goes into the biur halacha. That if it's something that's meant to be lo'ilam or meant to be lazman, you can't with your das come and say, well, I plan on undoing it Moed Shabbos, right? But let's say in my daughter's hair, there's no intention of dreadlocks there. So therefore, if she would do it and she wouldn't have das, it's going to be bedafka for more than 24 hours. And then it wound up staying till next Shabbos. So now you'll be able to undo that knot, because the knot is not a 24-hour knot. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? It's a very important nekuda, right? Well, that is quite dreadful, Rabbi Fiskis. But Rabbi Khan, you understand what I'm saying? No, so the nafkamina is, Rabbi say, is we had on Yontif, so I needed to bring with me a chair to the outdoor minyan, because I wasn't really a part of the minyan, so I had to bring my own chair. So on the first day, I brought like one of these plastic keta chairs, and then when I came home, over here it hurts. What should I tell you? It hurts. The hurts down there. What should I tell you? That's how it goes. So it hurt. So the next day I said to my wife, I need to bring some kind of a cushion. I need to cushion it, right? So we have on the chairs in the kitchen, we have these chair cushions, right? Rabbi Samuels, I'm talking about. And they were tied on. So my wife said, look, I'm in a different room right now because I'm in Bidud, Rabbi Silverman. I can't go down there, okay? Maybe tomorrow I'll bring them up to show the oilam. You know what I could do? 1 minute. I could tell my wife to bring it up. 1 second. Just 1 second. She's not answering. All right. So these chairs have these like strings that you tie onto these chair cushions. They have these strings that you tie onto the chair, right? And so my wife said, just take those off. Now they were tied with a knot and a bow, right? So when she said that, I immediately put her in the closet, Rabbi Isai. It's good, next to my daughter, because those are tied for a very long time. How long do you tie those on for? Rabbitson? Hello? Oh, Shani Maidel, bring me the cushions from the chair, the ones we were talking about on Rosh Hashanah. Okay? No, not that one. The one that the cushion that we put on the chair, to make it that you don't hurt the Dorton, the bottom. But we spoke about on Rosh Hashanah. Yes, those making this national TV. Okay. So she's been out of the closet. That's why she was able to answer the phone. So those cushions, she says, what do you mean? What do you mean? I put it on yesterday, l'kavod Rosh Hashanah. She washed them, l'kavod Rosh Hashanah. And she said, I just put them on yesterday. They've been on for less than 24 hours. So what did we do when she said that? We put her right back in the closet because when she put it on, oh, thank you so much. Right? No, these are the Velcro ones. I was about to tell them about these. No, go bring me the ones with the string or I'll put you back in the closet.
Is it both of them?
No, the white ones. Go. Just go. The white ones are the ones that I think it's in the sukkah. Okay? This is what I was going to surprise you with. That what the fancy people have today, the fancy people have Velcro. Velcro, you're allowed to do lo'ilam voyed. Even though Rav Vosner is against that, but Pashtus is that Velcro is not considered kosher, it's not considered toifer, it's not considered anything. But if you're going to tie it, right, if you're going to tie it, then that's a problem. That is a very big problem. So now I was clearing like this. Let's say I would have one. Listen to my Claire. Let's say I would have, oh, it's so late. What happened? We didn't learn anything today. I give up. Right? Well, let's say I would have one. Yeah, we found these afterward, Rabbi Khan. Shkoyach. That was what we found afterward because now Baruch Hashem, I'm not in pain anymore. But let's say, yeah, I'm sure at Mike's Dinette you can get these. That's the truth. But let's say you go back in the closet. That's it. In the closet. Which closet? The closet that I put you in. I'll talk to you in a minute. Let me just finish this here. Okay. The Rabbi side. I was clearing like this. Let's say you have a cushion. Let's say I have a cushion and it was off and it has a string. Now, no one puts a cushion on a keter chair. So I was clearing, what would be if I took it and put it on a keter chair? Just everyone knows what a keter chair is. Rabbi Schlisselfeld, Rabbi Silberman, Rabbi Fiskus, you know what a keter chair is? It's like those plastic chairs. It's a plastic chair. I can't help you, but it's a regular plastic chair. Right. But it's like the ones that stack. Rabbi Singer showed them in the background what it is. It's a regular plastic chair that stacks, bekitzer, right? So no one puts on those a cushion. Oh, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much. That's the chair. You understand now? Go take a look. There you go. No one puts on those chairs cushions. So I was thinking, what would happen if on Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos, whatever, I would want to take a cushion and put it on that chair and have das that I'm not going to keep it on for 24 hours. Do we say that since normally when a person puts it on chairs in general, his das is to leave it on for more than 24 hours? Or do we say, no, we look at a keter chair. A keter chair, nobody ever puts a cushion on. And since nobody ever puts a cushion on a keter chair, so therefore, we're going to look at you specifically. And if you specifically are somebody that plans on doing it for less than 24 hours, it's going to be mutter. What do you guys think? What do you think? I'm not to that we look at the circumstance, and therefore in this case, I'm not would have been permitted to, yes, put it on the plastic chair for less than 24 hours. But the problem is we were not allowed to take it off of the chair because that chair it was on, certainly the norm is to put it on those chairs, certainly for more than 24 hours. And therefore you do have to get Velcro. And this is Nagaya Rabbi side. This is Nagaya crib bumpers. If you put in a crib bumper, Rabbi side, it's not going to help to have das that I'll take it out within 24 hours because that's not the derech. Nobody does it for under 24 hours. This is Nagaya. They have all these like on the baby chairs, on the high chair. You have those inlays that you tie on. It won't help l'chayra to have das for under 24 hours. Because, or to have stam das, because the norm in those cases is to have on for more than 7 days, right? Thank you, Rabbi Shron, for finding it. It's very helpful. One last case is we were running late on Erev Rosh Hashanah, so many shilas and so many cases and so many issues because everybody was asking me different shilas with the shofar. So my wife said to me, I told my wife, I want to do one thing for Yontif, and she does everything. I want to do one thing. So she said, listen, do me a favor, put in the quilts into the quilt cover. Put the quilt into the quilt cover. Excuse me, the quilt into the quilt cover. You know how it goes. So I said, sure, that's no problem. That's my job. So then I realized I didn't do the job. And I realized it was already, time to go to sleep on Rosh Hashanah at night. And there they are. There's the quilts on the bed and there's the quilt covers on top of them. I give out. And my wife is going to come into the room right? And she had just been in the closet for 2 hours, and she's going to be all sad when she sees that the quilt doesn't have a quilt cover on it. So I did that whole mahalach where you take your arms and you put it in like this and you pull it like that. And I pulled it right through. And then at the bottom, what do I see on the bottom? You guessed it. Strings. That's right. Not strings, whatever they're called. What are those things called? You know what they're called. Help me out here. Somebody. Rabbi Schliffelfeld, what are those handles called over there? There's the little handles, and you tie them. You tie a knot and then a bow. That's how it goes. So then I see there's a knot and a bow. Right? Is it going to help there to have das for under 24 hours? And it's the Yom Adin. You don't want to do anything wrong on the Yom Adin. That for sure not. Right? You know, you don't want to be doing anything wrong ever, but certainly not in the Yom Adin. So, you know, but Shalom Bayis and whatever. So this is a good example here. It's not even going to help to have das for. I think, how long do people keep those things in for? They keep them in for more than a week, no? Right. My wife is English. I think she washes them every day. But I'm saying regular people. I think, you know, a bacher keeps them sometimes, right? For the next generation, you know, Myers them down. But this is a very good example of something about Isai that it won't even help to have das for under 24 hours because the derech of the Welt is not like that. The derech of the Welt is not like that. So Mitzvah Hashem will continue tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed this year. I know I enjoyed giving it, and I'll see you all tomorrow.